want to check it out?
Yeah.
It's immaculate. Real sweetheart.
You've got a couple old Winchesters, right? Yeah, just Winchester.
Always, yeah. I'm interested in that.
Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the shop. Today, we're doing a little bit of a different format here, and it's a little bit of a. We got a little bit of a story. I showed some B-roll at the front of this about just about when I went to pick this thing up. But a couple episodes ago, I posted a video on this beautiful 329 PD lightest 44. Lightest production 44 Magnum ever produced, 25.2 ounce gun. Just an incredible piece of hardware. It was on the used rack up at the Crossroads, and that place is super cool. It's quite the haul for me to get up there. It's a couple hours away, so I spent the majority of the day in the car today. I just got home from picking this up. So what I wanted to do, this is in used condition. What I wanted to do is kind of just go through a little bit of kind of my quick mechanical inspection, of a revolver, what I do in the shop, and how I go about picking out what I'm going to pick up. This thing passed at least most of my preliminary checks, and I just kind of wanted to show you guys, like, what is it? What do I go through? What do I look for? There's no right answer. That's the part that's I mean, there is a right answer, but it does require quite a lot of inspection. But I just kind of go over them with you right quick. So when I take a revolver out of the case, kind of the first things that I look for, obviously, are any cosmetic issues. Not that the cosmetic problems are something that are really going to bother me, but that cosmetic issues can sometimes indicate more of the fate that it has suffered, and if it's had any rough use, and kind of what to look for if it has any rough use. This thing looks like it was carried quite a bit. The 329 is quite the adventure gun, so I'm not really terribly surprised that it was carried a lot. But so looking over a lot of cosmetic things, we can see some of the condition of the gun. You know what to expect, and then I kind of look at the second thing, or the second thing I look at is the sights. So I'm always really curious exactly, if this was the person who owned this thing last was moving the sights all over the place, if those got moved, if they're in alignment, or if they're not in alignment. Kind of an interesting bit about this 329 that I didn't know is that you can see right there in the camera that that's actually a V. Let me bring this down for you. You can see right there in the camera that that's actually a V notch. So it's not a regular straight up rear S&W sight blade. That's got a notch cut in it. So the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to feel where the bolt index is on the cylinder, and I'm going to feel each charge hole, and I'm going to see it should have a little bit of play. Maybe a thou. You should be able to feel at least some kind of chatter in there. And I always go from cylinder to cylinder to make sure that I can feel that, and see what that actually feels like. If that feels good, then I just go ahead and I do a quick timing test. And how you do that is you want to take your left hand, you want to put just a little bit of drag on the cylinder, and you want that bolt to come up and index in that cylinder right there. It just clicked before the hammer falls, and that's how you know that at least the gun is in time. And I do that 6 times. I swing out the cylinder. On this one sort of failed one of these checks, and I have not had this apart. I literally just took possession of this today. So we're gonna take a look at what's going on here. But this thing, you can see this. It's very stiff. It's just not moving. And I don't know if somebody's used some kind of like moly lube or something in this, or something in here, but we're gonna drop some of these parts in the ultrasonic cleaner and check it out, and see what's going on. But I also checked down here just to see where there's been chatter with a scandium frame, anything. It's gonna be pretty obvious. There's a little, I don't need to zoom way in, but you can, there's some white marks down here that I always check for. Obviously we're gonna check the forcing cone, see if there's any forcing cone issues. I mean, this thing does look like it's been fired a bit, but it doesn't seem like it's been misused or mistreated. It seems like it's healthy. It's in good shape. It passed all my timing checks and all my mechanical checks. It's got a fairly decent trigger on it. We are showing a little bit. We've got some shims. We've got some shims here that we're going to put in, but we are showing a little bit of wear on the side of this hammer. And that's always indicative that that maybe we need a little bit of shimming in here. It's not a make or break. It just means that this hammer is rubbing against the side of the frame. Aluminum frame gun. We definitely want to mitigate that. We want to deal with that. So that's kind of a little bit of what I do. I open up the cylinder, I show everybody in the shop, and I go, look, man, you see 6 holes, you see 6 holes, you see 6 holes. And then people start kind of looking at me funny after I'm making sure that I show every single person in the shop, everybody that can see me, that it's empty. And then I go, yeah, because I'm going to point this thing at my face. And I point it at my face. And what I'm looking for here is I'm looking to see that when this thing comes into full cock and when I pull the trigger, that this cylinder stays where it's supposed to, right? So what I want is I want this cylinder to stay exactly where it is. I want it to stay indexed on this hole. I don't want it to push over. And I want this cylinder to be perfectly aligned with the bore. And you can look at that when you look down the bore and look at where and look at the charge hole as it comes around, and you can see inside of there if the cylinder is indexing properly. I always look for that, and I look for it as you pull the trigger, because as you pull the trigger, that cylinder shouldn't move anymore. It needs to stay in that location. So that's sort of my quick mechanical inspection, and that passed all of those things. So I'm like, okay, great, we're in time. We're all timed up. We've got our bore alignment, our cylinder alignment is great. Our timing is good. There's no weird chatter in here anywhere. This looks like a solid revolver. There's nothing really wrong with it. So what we're gonna do in this video is what I want to do is I want to take this actually came with a set of Kim Aaron's grips. So, and that's in another video. Kim Aaron's a pretty cool guy. Built a pile of grips for Smith & Wesson. This is one of this particular gun came from the factory with a set of Kim Aaron's grips on it. To me, I think that's just a super cool thing. That they were reached out to essentially a private manufacturer, private grip maker that was just a mom and pop shop and said, hey, can you put the grips on it? To me, the Kim Aaron's grips are just super comfortable. We're going to find out how comfortable they are when we go to fire this thing. But I think that the Kim Aaron's this particular design is A++. I really like it a lot. But unfortunately, a few years ago, Kim and his wife suffered some health trouble, and they had to shut down the business. Now, it's very sad. It's really unfortunate. I hate to see anybody go through that. I wish that they did a GoFundMe or something, because we would have totally lit those guys up. It would have been awesome. But so a lot of these revolvers, these particular ones, these are sort of early serial numbers of the 320 of this 329 series came with this set of Kim Aaron's grips, and it's just really cool to see this thing in its full context, kind of as it was released from Smith. Now, unfortunately, this came out of the used gun case. They didn't have the original box or anything to go with it, and that was really too bad, because it would have been really cool to have some of that stuff. Now, unfired with it, this thing has been fired quite a bit, so I'm not really, my heart isn't too broken about the box, but it just would have been cool to have. So anyway, what we're gonna do, I've got an ultrasonic cleaner recipe that I want to share with you guys. That's going to take this titanium, out of this this sort of old fatigued look, and bring this right back to new. So we're gonna get this all of this old residue and all this old burnt powder right off of this cylinder. using that ultrasonic cleaner, and I'm going to give you guys a recipe so that if you're doing, and it works on stainless steel, and titanium. You absolutely cannot use it on blue guns or any kind of anodized aluminum surface, because it will absolutely remove the anodizing. So if we want to, what we're going to do is we're going to take this, we're going to take these grips off of here. All right, cool. So that's our grips. So it's our screws. Our screws done. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. I just use this S&W side plate screws, and then I mean this thing is just the back of a pasta box. I mean there's really nothing fancy going on there. What I always use the rubber mallet. Right, I got a little rubber hammer here. So all we got to do, gently tap, and that whole side plate just pops right off of there. 854 designation. I'm not sure what that is on the inside of that grip, of that thing. But here we got some. So what we can see, those of you that aren't quite 100% acquainted with the internals on the S&W here. What we can see, we got a rebound block, a hand, a mainspring, a trigger, hammer. This is the sear. We got a bolt down here. Ooh, I forgot one very important step. Holy cow! Never took any mainspring tension off before I took that side plate out. Mistake. Anyway, what you want to do is you always want to make sure that you take a little bit of weight off of that. Now, what's interesting about this is that S&W for a while, at least on the performance center, guns, were going with a reduced weight Wolf mainspring, which was kind of interesting. So they were going with a reduced weight mainspring. This is not. This is a full weight mainspring. So this doesn't have a power rib. This does not have a power rib up the back. So that thing is full size. Yeah. So we got our now this oil. That's whatever is in here. It feels almost like Molly lube. It is so thick. It's grease is what's in here. Is this big, heavy grease. Not a fan of that. So we are definitely gonna pull these parts out of here, and we've got our own sort of 11 herbs and spices for a ultrasonic cleaner recipe for that. But what we can do is we can open this up and we can pull this cylinder out, and yeah, this stuff is, man, I can't really illustrate to you guys how this is, but you can see that is like Goop City, and it is very tacky. Holy cow. Yep. So we are most certainly going to do something about that, because we don't need this stuff to be, this definitely does not have to, whatever. I mean, look, the crane, the crane is like slowly falling, will like slowly fall down. Yeah, that doesn't need to be that thick. So that's why our cylinders just doesn't really want to move. I mean, sure, it feels smooth, but holy cow, we're adding weight there. But anyway, so we can we'll be able to toss all this stuff, and like I said, we're gonna pull these elements out and stick these and put these each individually inside of the ultrasonic cleaner. Let's switch over to that. Okay, so we got our cylinder here. I'm not entirely sure what this material is made of. I know I want to mess around with this cylinder and the star. The star is stainless. The cylinder is titanium. Now, I don't know if this is stainless or if this is just blackened stainless. At any rate, what you want the way that you want to do this, I've got this this tool from Power Custom. But what you can do is you can take a piece of tubing or something and wrap it around here, and then use pliers and do it. But this is a left-hand thread, and all you want to do is use that. Put some put some spent brass in that cylinder, and then you can just loosen it, right? So now we're loose, and this is a left-hand thread, right? So looks like we're tightening, but we're actually loosening. So I wanted to take this apart, and I was kind of doing it off camera, and then I said, you know what, you should probably do that on camera because somebody's going to be interested in that methodology. But anyway, then that whole thing just comes apart. Now what you want to make sure that you don't lose, right? You got your main locking pin here, one big spring, and then this little guy. Sometimes those are sticky. That one's not. That one just kind of slides off. I'm just going to leave that whole assembly just attached just like that. Now, this star is definitely stainless steel, so we'll keep that. And then we've got our titanium cylinder here. So let's get on to this mixture. So what I've got here is I've got an absolute 100% El Cheapo. We've got a bigger Lyman ultrasonic cleaner here in the shop, but this thing is just super useful for some of these really small jobs. All I'm doing, I already had hot water in here, but I'm going to heat this up just a little bit, and then I'm going to go ahead and sink some of these parts in here. But first, what I want to do is I want to give you my 11 herbs and spices, the recipe. So what I have here is I have a little bit of lemon shine. Just in case you're unfamiliar, the canister looks like this. So this is a dish detergent additive, and all I do is I put, so we've got, you know, a half a gallon of water in here, probably a little less than a half a gallon of water. What I do is I sprinkle in some lemon shine. What that's going to do is it's going to break down some of these heavy deposits that are on top of this thing, and really just get down to bare metal. Now that doesn't quite have it all the way yet. Now for color, you know, add to taste. We're going to add in a little bit of simple green. Right, so I put simple green into this mixture, and I don't really go crazy, but we want to put enough simple green in there that's going to help. About that color is looking pretty good. And then what we're going to do is we're going to set this on the highest possible setting. And drop in some of these parts, our cylinder and our star, and I'm going to hit go on this. I'm going to do it off camera because this thing is super loud on the recording. All right, so we got these down here. We can just kind of see them through the top here. You can see the star. We're going to pull this out. I'm just looking at this stuff for the first time. This ran for that 400 something seconds, but we can see that this has just been that all this dirt and grime off of the top of this thing has just been removed, and there was all of this stuff along the back side of this thing. This thing was just covered, and there's nothing even on it anymore. So this stuff, like I said, this particular mixture works really fast. Let's see what our cylinder looks like here. Now we can still see that we got some grime and stuff on the side of that, but I got a sneaking suspicion that won't stay there for very long. Or it is a little stubborn, actually. Now that stuff has probably been baked on. I'm not sure how many rounds this has had put through it. It's a few, so we still got some burn some powder residue on the side of this, some burn residue on the side of this, but that's no sweat. We'll put this thing in for a few more takes, but this stuff is this thing's gonna polish right up. This stuff will be right off. So let's stick it back in the tank and keep going. All right, so while you guys were away, I used a little boride, 1000 grit polishing stone here, and I just took off some really high spots on the bottom of this rebound block. It's a nice way to smooth up an action. But let's check on our cylinder here and see how it's doing. And this fluid is pretty hot. Now I'll turn this off, but let's check on this cylinder. It just ran for another cycle. You guys are getting this almost in real time, but yeah, you can see that a lot of this burn residue. Let's see if it's gonna come off here, but a lot of this burn residue is fading. So I'm surprised. This doesn't usually take this long. My 929 gets this treatment pretty much when it goes out. It's just easy to just take this cylinder out and just dunk it in this tank when you get back. When you get back from a range trip. But most of the real nastiness is just about gone. It's just about off of this. So we're gonna soak this for another run here and keep going. All right, here we are. Check it again. Pretty steamy now. I said I was going to turn it off, and then I kind of felt it again. It was still a little cool. Now it's real hot. So let's try it one more time. Yep. Just about gone. Just about gone. We'll give another couple rips, but I'll leave you guys off there. Okay, so we're back on the bench here, and what I've got, so this cylinder I'm going to keep working on in the background. I'm kind of surprised here because I've never had it where it doesn't really come off. I'm going to keep kind of fiddling around with this. I got one of these this is a few 100% better than what we started with. This is what I'm looking for, really clean. I think I'll still get here. It's getting pretty. We're running on into the night here, and it's definitely getting pretty late. So I kind of want to finish up this project. So I'm not just going to keep running it. But anyway, I think I can still get this clean. But what I've been doing while that thing's been cycling through this in this solution is I've just been using some solvent, which is a solvent that I make myself, which is what's on this Q-tip is a mixture of ATF, automatic transmission fluid, K1 kerosene, and something else. But so I've been running this regular solvent through here. What I've been doing, and this is pretty much just your DIY hops. And what I've been doing is I've just been kind of scrubbing this thing down while we've been waiting, and I've been getting a bunch of stuff off of this thing because it was pretty gross on the inside of here. Something new to me, haven't seen yet, is this little sort of floating, something I might refer to as a switch, but it sits inside of this channel and goes up and down, and it's attached to the trigger, and it holds open that cylinder release latch, which I thought was kind of interesting and not seen it before. Maybe I just haven't taken apart enough brand new enough newer end frames, but I had not seen that yet. But yeah, as you can see, we've cleaned up the exterior of it by a few 100% too, just by rubbing this thing down with solvent, because there was just junk all over it, and I'm not sure what lubricant was used on the inside of here. We still got to do this hammer and trigger. I'm not sure what lubricant was used on the inside of here, but it is just like sticky, very, very, very sticky. Yeah. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna get some solvent on here, go over this with some solvent, and just scrub all these parts down. I was gonna do a bath. I said I was gonna do a bath here of solvent, but I ended up just kind of fooling around with it as I was cleaning. as I was cleaning this up. I thought you guys would kind of get a kick out of seeing some of my process and just kind of how I go through, just cleaning something up or sort of checking something into my own personal, checking something in for my own sort of personal gun, something that's mine, that's my own. But yeah, we can get that trigger nice and cleaned up, and just having a little bit of solvent on that just sort of gets all that grime. You can see kind of in the reflection there. That's just like a chunk of like weird, it's like weird super heavy like goop. I think it might have been Molly. It might have been a Molly loop that somebody used on the inside of this thing. I think that's a little extreme. I don't think we need any kind of lubricant. We don't need anything with really much weight, to it. But yeah, I mean that's that. We might do a trigger job on this at some point in the future. But it's looking, it's looking 1,000 times better than when we started. I'll just do this hammer really quick. Come in here. Like I said, I was going to kind of take this in a little bit of different direction. We're going to have to save that for some other videos because, like I said, it's just getting really late. I'm just kind of, all I'm doing is just painting this on. Just going to paint it on and scrub it and wipe it down. And paint it on and wipe it down. Not a problem. Not an issue. Yeah, nice, clean looking hammer. So this is kind of some of the stuff that I do when I check in a new gun. It's really, there's not a whole lot of mystery to it. I mean, I just cover this thing up with some solvent and kind of just go over it. But I just wanted to show you guys kind of a little bit of some of the things that I do here as I sort of check in, a new firearm for myself. So now that we get this thing, reasonably cleaned up, like I said, I'm gonna keep working on this cylinder, but this thing came out really nice compared to what it started as. We'll keep working on it, cylinder, keep playing around with it. This is some of the stuff that I do. Let's get this thing all put together, and we'll show you what it looks like. All right, here's the reveal. Push all this out of the way.